All right, everybody, welcome to another Friday night episode of Keto Rocks Radio. This one's a little different than the rest of them because this is our 1-year anniversary.
Yay. I forgot my party favors.
But 1 year, and all on a serious note, I mean, I don't think Brian and I knew when we started this a year ago that we literally would be growing a family of supporters who are going out and living out this keto carnivore lifestyle. And truly, you guys have become a part of our family, and the support that you guys give one another, give us, and just sharing recipes, sharing your life with one another. It's been way more than I thought we would be able to do. So I just want to sit there and say thank you all for supporting the show and for all the kind words that you guys sent to us over the week. And we'll be airing some of the videos later on. So definitely stay tuned to the end because we got some special videos that you all have sent to us, and we'll play every one of them for you. And we'll talk more about what's happened over the last year, like what some of our favorite moments and all that. But let me introduce my co-host, Brian Damage Forsythe of Kix. And somewheres, we never know he shows up on time. Yes, there he is. Dr. Steve O. Making it to set just in time.
Tell you what, I'm still trying to fit in. I got my hat like you. I'm eating during the show like Brian. But Jim, man, I just got out of my car. It's been a year of the Keto Rocks. My clothes fell off right there in the driveway. Neighbors were having a barbecue. I don't think their dog's ever going to be the same, Jim. But happy birthday, you guys.
Well, thank you. We'll discuss more of that. And I tell you what, I love the hat. And regardless of what Mrs. Steve may tell you, it's a great hat.
I don't know if you've been listening in on our conversations, but that's more on the nose than you realize.
I get text messages.
I don't mean to take away focus from what you were talking about, Jim. I was trying to be subtle.
No, you've done a great job. So why don't you introduce our special guest for this celebratory episode?
I have a FOS, friend of Steve, or friend of the show. I'm not sure which he'd more likely cop to, but from all of the social media platforms, I get choked up when I talk about it.
Couldn't even get it out.
I'm going to need a tissue here in a moment, but James, the exploding unicorn Breakwell, joins us. Sorry, as I'm waiting off stage for you to get done, Jim, like the pork chop's getting soggy in my mouth, and I think I inhaled a little of it. But it's the problem with a sight gag to start the show. But Breakwell.
Well, Brian and I are drinking water for you, so you should be.
Yeah, I got mother's milk. Yeah, thank you. I get a little emotional when I'm on the show, I've got to be honest. But James wanted to come on to the show to settle my hash because my first appearance on Keto Rocks was fraught with controversy. And I'm here to set the record straight and say I might have been in I was in a trance-like rapture around Brian Damage and didn't get the facts straight. Because my first foray into the world of keto happened because of James Breakwell.
That is a lie. I told him about this years ago and he completely ignored it and did nothing I said until he talked to you guys. And he's like, oh, somebody who knows what they're talking about. Maybe I'll give this thing a try.
Oh, I thought you might have joined them for dinner at the Outback.
Yeah, Steve has been over to my house a few times. Well, every time he's come over, we've definitely served pizza. So though that was before I went keto, and I definitely gave him all the carbs and sugar in my attempt to kill him. It did not work.
Well, welcome to the show, James. And I've watched a couple of your episodes, and I love the fact you got bacon walking around your property. So anytime you want bacon, it's right there for you.
Very close at hand. It's a lot of work. It's a lot easier to just buy it from the store. Take it from me, and that way you don't have to scoop any poop.
Well, so what's the story behind the pig? I mean, I watched the episode how it outsmarted you, and it was quite the entertaining episode. And we'll throw that segment up on our show notes so people can go visit what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I wanted pigs for a long time. I was born on a pig farm and we moved off it when I was 3. And so my lifelong goal was to own a pig. And then I finally got a house. I found out about the existence of mini pigs and I thought I'll give it a try. But my wife, being a reasonable and sane human being, forbid me from spending money on a pig. But by that point, I'd gone viral on social media and I found the loophole. She said I couldn't spend money on one. She didn't say I couldn't get one for free. So I reached out to a pig breeder and said, if I get you enough likes on Facebook, will you give me a pig for free? And they agreed. And I reached out to my followers on Facebook and Twitter, and they were more than happy to help me endanger my marriage. And a week later, I had a free pig, and that thing came home with me. As much as my wife dislikes pigs, she can't say no to a good deal. So that was how I slipped the pig in here on a technicality. And then later on, we got a pig as a friend to make the first pig less of a jerk. So it's one of those things. Once you let in one, you can't stop at one. They're like Pringles, but a lot higher maintenance.
That's awesome. So how long have you had the pig?
The bigger one we've had almost 5 years, and the smaller one I think we're coming up on 3 years here. They're getting older fast.
What's their life expectancy for a pig? I don't even know.
Oh, a long, long time. So on a farm, by 6 months, you're eating them. If you actually let them live out their natural lifespan, they live like 20 years. Like, this is a commitment.
Wow.
They might outlive me. It's kind of scary.
Wow. Hey, could you get us an emu for Brian's house?
Oh man, those big birds terrify me. Can you eat emu? Is it like ostrich? Can you do that, or what's the appeal of emus?
It's the $30 emu egg that looks like a green emerald Easter egg.
Yeah, they're huge. They're like.
Oh man, have you ever had one?
I had one last week.
Did you really? What was it like?
Well, I made a quiche out of it, so it was kind of hard. I had other ingredients in there, so it's hard to tell. But from what I could tell, it was pretty much like a regular egg. It was just big.
Just $30.
Except Brian had to break it open with a chainsaw. I mean, it was like,
man.
Which ironically is how he carries knives too. Like he doesn't distinguish.
How many regular eggs do you think that was? Do you think that was a full dozen, or what's the equivalent?
I heard it's about the equivalent of 10 chicken eggs.
10.
Jeez.
I mean, that's cool for the novelty, but chicken eggs, like I bought them today. I bought 18 for $1.89. Man, you get a lot of chicken eggs for one emu egg.
Well, yes, you can.
I didn't actually have to pay for the egg, so.
Oh, that's the secret. He's got an emu free supplier there.
Well, like you, Brian is a celebrity.
Oh, I'm not free emu egg celebrity. Sorry. I aspire to be that famous someday.
So Brian has a supplier in Delaware that supplies him with all kinds of goodies from time to time.
Huh. Man, I have failed in my lifetime of connections here.
I've just got
pig,
Steve. Though.
Yeah, I got a pig.
Got a pig. That's pretty good.
Steve.
I peaked at the pig. I think that was as good as it got. When I got to Steve, that was a step down. Definitely. We've done, just for those of you who aren't acquainted with us, we have 2 podcasts a week where we just fight about everything. That it's kind of our thing, and it's not a shtick. There's just this friction there. It's natural. Like oil and flaming water, or water and flaming oil. I think I reversed that there. But one or the other's on fire.
But one of the things that was a bone of contention early was that I kept saying James is not a celebrity. And so I've got 3 walls in my studio that are covered with pictures of celebrities. And James kept complaining, how come you don't want a picture of me? So he sent a poster of him signed. And Jim, I think I sent you a picture of the poster hanging in my office. And I thought it was very fitting, the way that James Breakwell's celebrity fits in with the rest of my celebrities.
Right above the toilet. I appreciate that. For the record, I never claimed to be a celebrity. This is taken grossly out of context. However, I did totally send him that poster, and it was hilarious. And it is by far the biggest picture he has. It is a gross distortion and a crime against God and man.
Nothing hurt him worse, other than when I said Brian turned me on to Keto Rocks, or to Keto.
Again, I was not hurt. I did find it funny though that you forgot about me. I was just fitting of our relationship. I think it's awesome what you guys are out here doing, spreading the word on keto, because You know, as much as I think this is going mainstream, and it's like, oh yeah, people realize you just cut carbs and sugar and you get so much healthier and you lose weight and everything's better. Every time I think that, there's another stupid article on the internet about, you know, the dangers of keto and why you can't do this and why you can't stick to it. It's like, why is there so much pushback against such a simple concept? But the fight is far from over. There's still a lot of misinformation out there.
Yeah, every time I post a food, I posted what I had for lunch or dinner today, and someone said, "How can you lose weight eating like this?" And I was like, "Try it. You'll like it." And you know, I actually went to and I get comments like Brian gets all the time about how's your cholesterol. Well, for all those people who ask those questions, I want you to know I had my panels taken this week, and I got a call from the doctor's office yesterday saying, "Jim, your blood work's back and it is perfect." So. Yeah. We'll see in a year. I said, all right. So for those who worry about cholesterol and your blood you're all messed up, I'm good.
Yeah, and that's another area where there's been study after study after study that says LDL is the one that doctors traditionally worried about. And there's no correlation between LDL and heart attacks or anything else. As triglycerides you have to worry about. And your LDL is what goes up if you eat meat all the time. And it's you eat meat all the time, your risk of heart attack really does not go up. But and again, you can show somebody 25 studies that say this, but then you know they heard on the internet that LDL is bad and they're going to stick with that. And nobody wins a fight on the internet. That's the first rule of the internet. So all you can do is go home and eat your steak, and that's going to be how you win.
Absolutely. And the results speak for themselves. So as we always say on this show, look, don't argue with people, just live your life. Your life will manifest the results, and the results speak for themselves. So the number of people over the last 12 months who have been turned on to keto and a carnivore lifestyle, and the weight they've lost, not just the weight, but the energy and how healthy they feel, is just, you know, that speaks volumes compared to like Dr. Steve's guest last week. He was like, man, he's tried everything under the sun, and he's always, you know, walking around starving, hungry. And this is the first time he's been able to lose weight and feel good, get stronger, is on the keto carnivore lifestyle.
Now, are you guys more on the keto side or the carnivore side, or where do you fall on that spectrum?
Well, for me, I'm 90% carnivore. I still, you know, do some stuff that just stays in keto. I'll let the carnivore speak for himself.
I'm pretty much straight carnivore. I mean, every once in a while I'll add some little thing in, but yeah, mostly just carnivore.
Okay, that's where I am as well. I think Steve, you still do keto, don't you, more?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I just live on ground beef and pepper jack cheese. Although I do mayonnaise with it and hot sauce. So I mean, it's not like you get hot sauce from a cow or anything. And I definitely still drink whiskey. So when I venture off the menu, I stick to stuff that's 0 carb for my condiments and all of that stuff. But yeah, it's really been wonderful. And I don't know what turned it for you guys, what brought you there. For me, it was the book, Good Calories, Bad Calories. You ever read that one or listen to that one?
I'm aware of it, but I have not read it.
Yeah, I got it when I first got on Audible, and it's like, if you in the audio form, it's like 24 hours long. And I listened to it at triple speed. Ended up listening to it twice. It's like, holy cow, this is incredible. And it just made so much sense. All the correlations they show between, hey, here's what happens when cultures start eating, you know, sugar and refined carbohydrates. They get fat, they get all these diseases. Places that don't have this, they don't have these things. It's like, oh, well, I guess that makes sense. And I started looking into it. My early frustration, though, that book didn't really, well, it said stay away from refined, you know, carbohydrates and sugars. It didn't necessarily recommend eating meat. It took a while fumbling around. For a while, I thought carbs and sugar were bad and red meat was bad. I was like, what are you supposed to eat? What food is left? There was one book that I got all the way at the end of it. I almost threw it across the room, which would have been bad because I was listening to it on my phone. But it was like, so here's what you could eat. And it was like, wheatgrass and all this like stuff I've never even heard of, that I don't think qualifies as food. And then I had to do some more digging, and I kind of stumbled across carnivore. It's like, oh, this is what makes sense. You just eat meat and everything falls into place. And it really doesn't get simpler than that.
So what was your motivation for going keto carnivore, James?
So I had a lot of different ones. The biggest one was just overall health. The idea that all these diseases spring from refined carbohydrates and sugar, and then I got all these side benefits too I didn't really expect, like the weight loss. So I used to have a super high metabolism. I ran cross country through college, and then like everybody else, one day my metabolism just stopped. It turns out I can gain weight off of anything. I gain it so easily, and I can lose it, but I can't keep it off. And I kind of developed a rhythm where my weight would just climb and climb and climb, and I would just progressively add chins. And then my wife would get pregnant, because of me. I guess I say that passively, like I had nothing to do with it. But when she was pregnant, I would then take that as a cue to lose weight as she gained weight, because I'm the worst person in the world. So we have 4 kids, and 4 times I got in shape and dieted all the way down into the 170s. And every time I just gained all that weight back, because when you're eating carbs and sugar, the only way I could lose weight was to get my calories way below 2000. And I was starving just all the time. I couldn't maintain it. And now, I don't worry about carnivore too much, but if you were to switch it over that, I eat 3 pounds of ground beef and about 4 ounces of pepper jack cheese a day. It's about 3000 calories. And I'm the leanest and the strongest I've ever been. So I'm not hungry anymore. I'm eating twice as much as I did before when I was dieting, and I'm not gaining any weight. So it's just, it almost feels like magic sometimes. Then you tell people about it and they're like, aren't you going to die? And it's like, so you weren't worried about me before when I was super fat and unhealthy and breathing hard up the stairs. And now that I finally have a 6-pack, now you're worried about my health.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, do you do intermittent fasting too with your carnivore lifestyle?
I do. I do 1 meal a day. So for dinner, I eat all 3 pounds at once. And it turns out it is possible to gain weight eating all meat, but you have to really try it. So early on, I was lifting weights. Everybody's like, you just got to eat. You just got to eat. And at one point, I had worked my way up to eating 5 pounds of meat a day in 1 meal, and that was just miserable. My stomach, I'd like to think it has an infinite capacity, but that was too much even for me. So now I do 3 pounds, and that pretty well gets me through. And I really like eating once a day. And this is something that scares people away. They're like, well, I don't want to eat once a day. Like you don't have to eat just once a day. You can eat 5 times a day, eat as much as you want. Just stay away from the carbs and sugar. For me, the reason I like eating once a day is snacking just doesn't do anything for me. If I'm going to eat a little bit of food, I want to eat all the food. So it's really, really easy for me to wake up in the morning and not eat. That's the simplest thing in the world. So I know there's a big pile of meat waiting for me at the end of the day. But if I try to eat like a light lunch, it's just like, that's just disappointing. It's like, it's a tease, and it drives me crazy. So yeah, I like doing 1 meal a day. I feel my energy's fine. I go to the gym 7 days a week, and it doesn't slow me down any. So I definitely prefer the intermittent fasting approach.
That's awesome. You got Brian over there beside you salivating, talking about 5 pounds. You're talking his language now. Because Brian, how much? I mean, Brian eats about 3 pounds. He eats a ton of food at his one sitting.
Yeah. I don't think I could do 5, but like a 3-pound tomahawk steak.
Yeah, I think 3 pounds is about the right amount. 5 is not recommended. Steak is a good way to go. The only drawback I found to steak is it takes a long time to eat. It's just a lot of chewing, especially when I was doing 5 pounds of meat a day. It takes like an hour and a half to eat 5 pounds of steak. But ground beef, you get it nice and moist, a little bit of pink. That's like Jello, man. You barely have to chew. You can get that down in 20 minutes and get on with your day.
Can I ask how long you've been doing this?
You know what? I was thinking about that today. I think it's been, I think this is going into year 3. I started out keto. I did keto for 10 or 11 months. And then I switched to carnivore. I think maybe it's only been a year or a year and a half. But yeah, I think it's been about that long. And it's been going great. The weight's been nice and stable. I've been healthy. Digestive issues went away. So here's one funny thing about it. Everybody's like, if you eat all meat, you're going to have all this problem in the bathroom. You're going to be all stopped up. And it was the exact opposite for me. So one of the fun things I discovered when I got older, just out of the blue, all of a sudden is like, I had this horrible digestive distress. And I don't want to go into too much details because I'm sure this is a family friendly podcast, but basically I went to the doctor, and the gist of it is they're like, you need to take mineral oil and you need to eat fiber. And I had to end up taking tons and tons of fiber. Like I got that Metamucil supplement stuff, and I was taking like 5 or 6 times the recommended dosage. It was crazy. And I couldn't miss a day. Like if I was out of town, I had to take this stuff with me. Like, and I looked like I was hauling cocaine with me, just in my baggies in my travel luggage. And then I went the complete opposite direction and cut all fiber from my diet, and it completely fixed everything. And I haven't had a problem since. So the problem wasn't too much or it wasn't the lack of fiber. It was that I had all these refined carbs and sugar that my body just didn't know how to process. So yeah, meat fixed that for me, definitely.
Now you have a wife and 4 daughters. Is it 4 daughters you have?
Yes, 4 daughters, 10, 8, 6, and 5.
Wow. And so are they all carnivore as well?
That is an ongoing issue. So this finally occurred to me. I'm so convinced of the benefits of this diet. It's like there's such clear, health upsides to this, and I've taken care of myself. And then I turn around and I'm just feeding my kids garbage. It's like, okay, I kind of feel bad about that. And I look at it and I've been of two minds the whole time, because growing up, that's what I ate. I mean, I lived on sugar for years. I used to wake up in high school and eat half a tray of brownies and I was just fine. At the same time, that's very clearly not the optimal human diet, and I worried about what this is going to do to them long term. And so I have been here recently just slowly trying to transition them at least off sugar. So we're going to more things like, hey, for dessert, rather than eating candy, how about some sugar-free Jell-O or this keto homemade ice cream? Or the big one I got one of those crazy powerful blenders, and now we're making sugar-free snow cones every night. And if they choose the snow cone over, over candy, they can have unlimited snow cones, just as much as you want. It's 0 calories, no sugar. And then I've been trying to work in more meat-based stuff. I've been making pizzas instead of pizzas, and experimenting with other stuff. And some nights it went great. Like the other night I made chaffles, which, the waffles made with eggs and mozzarella cheese. The kids loved them and gobbled them up. Tonight I made a pizza, and I definitely had one kid in tears. So you win some, you lose some.
Yeah, it's rough. It's rough for a family. That's why I asked you that question. So many people have a hard time getting into the keto carnivore lifestyle just because it's very tough to do it when other people in your household is not sharing in that lifestyle. So it's difficult to have those temptations being eaten in front of you at the table.
Yeah. And I mean, we like as recently as Halloween, I went out and just bought my kids. I bought them like 25 pounds of candy. We had a positive COVID test right before Halloween. Nobody could go trick-or-treating, and I felt bad. So, I mean, I've definitely gone back and forth on this. The no sugar thing is more recent, but I don't have a terrible time resisting candy in the house. I've heard some people say if it's eaten in front of them, they can't do it. I didn't have a problem because meat is just so good that, like, I know that beef is going to fill me up all day. And when you know that, you don't have to worry about candy. I mean, with candy, I used to eat it after dinner, and you eat one piece, you eat 2 pieces. I'd look down, I'd have 25 candy wrappers in front of me. It's so unfilling. There's nothing to it. And it's so hard to stop that I guess it's kind of like being an alcoholic. It's I can't do just a little bit. I either have to do all the candy or none of the candy, and none of the candy has definitely been easier for me here lately.
No, it's like eating at a Chinese restaurant. Once you're hungry 2 minutes later. So
Yeah.
next thing you know, you look down, you got all those wrappers in front of you, and you start to feel bloated, and you're still hungry, and then you wake up sluggish, and you go, well, I'll sleep it off, and then you wake up tomorrow, you're 5 pounds more heavier, and you start the whole cycle again. And I lived that lifestyle for probably, well, like you said this earlier, James, I was an athlete, was in high school and college, and then I had a high metabolism rate. And then all of a sudden I was like, where did this tire come from? And then, you honestly, you get married and you're just like, you know what, I'll just go with it, and I'll just eat wherever I want to. And next thing you know, you're ballooned up. Next thing I know, I'm like 300 pounds. I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? So, and then you start going, okay, well, I'll reduce my caloric intake, and then you're just starving. Like you're just like, I understand why someone invented the 5 to 7 meals are better than one meal, because you're living that stupid lifestyle of snacking your way to death. And I also do intermittent fasting, have one giant meal every day. And I'm like you, like I just eat till I'm stuffed. And now, like I'm stuffed, and I won't want to eat again tomorrow to about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But I don't sit there and go, oh man, I'm so hungry. Like right now, I'm full.
It's surprising how much time you save too when you cut out those other 2 meals, especially like when the kids and my wife, or my wife's at work and my kids are at school. It's like you don't have to get out, food and do dishes twice and do all that. It's like one meal, nice, simple, to the point, and you don't have that break in your day, because it's not just the meal you're stopping for. It's like, well, it's almost lunchtime, I got to slow down, and after lunchtime, it's going to take some time to get revved up. When you don't have that in the middle, you can just work right through the noon hour, and it's amazing how much more you can get done.
No, absolutely. I mean, I know when working in a work environment for most of my life, you have to leave, especially we live in DC, so commuting time is an hour to 2 hours. So you get up early, you have breakfast, and then you come, and when I say breakfast, you're pulling into a McDonald's at 05:30, ordering 5 $1 egg McMuffins, sausage muffins, hash browns, and coffee, and then 11 o'clock, oh, it's lunchtime. Where are we going to go to lunch? And then you go to lunch, and then you get home and you have dinner, and you go right to sleep, and you do that routine. It's just, and you, if you're honest with yourself, you never feel great, and you feel terrible. You're bloated, you're inflamed, and it shows.
The bloating was especially discouraging. I go back to my parents' house where, they're in grandparent mode now that I've got 4 daughters. And so there's just unlimited candy out all the time. And I'd go there for a weekend and pig out, and I'd come back and I'd weigh 6 pounds more than I did before I left. And you think, oh, it's just water weight. And a week later, I still have those 6 pounds. It's like, how is this even possible?
Yeah, it's quite the lifestyle. So tell us a little about yourself, James. I mean, Dr. Steve hasn't shared anything about you with us, so we're gonna have to figure this out on our own here.
Yes, anything he may have said is definitely a lie. Well, I'm a comedy writer. I stick mostly to family humor. I've got some books out about raising kids in a zombie apocalypse, about raising kids being as lazy as possible. And I've got a new one coming out called How to Be a Man, whatever that means, Lessons in Modern Masculinity from a Questionable Source. And it kind of goes through the funniest stories from the last 35 years of life, all condensed down into one volume. And I kind of look at that and see what lessons about manhood did I learn, or should I have learned, and all that. It goes into a lot of the pig stuff, that whole backstory, a more detailed account of how I ended up with that. My running career in college, all that, some, questionable run-ins with the law over lawn gnomes, a big push to turn me into a priest, lots of weird, funny stories that kind of all weave together in the tapestry to make me the disjointed person I am today. My other books were kind of more general humor, and this is the first one where I really get into some personal stories. So hopefully people can connect with that. I'm most well known for Twitter. I'm not a celebrity, as Steve loves to point out, but I do have a bunch of followers on Twitter, and that at Exploding Unicorn, where I write jokes about my kids. And that's actually how Steve and I connected. At first, he invited me on his podcast years ago, and it very well might have been the first podcast I ever went on, or possibly the second. And then, of all things, my mom gave me a compliment on that one. She's like, "You were so relaxed talking to him." And I was like, all right, I got that tiny bit of validation. I'm going to call this guy back. And so we met at a bar in downtown Indianapolis as he was passing through one day. No, it was like way on the east. It was way on the outskirts in the sketcy part of Indianapolis. And we connected, like, hey, you want to do a podcast together? And what are we up to now? 197 episodes on Wrong and Wronger, and 130 something on 10 Minutes to Save Your Marriage. We've been podcasting and arguing twice a week ever since. We're like an old married couple now.
Well overdue for a divorce. Yeah.
You can have the kids.
Well, in your book, How to Be a Man, do you tell the story of how you named your daughter Waffle?
I don't get into that one. So that's her internet name, not her real name. But what happened there was when we were pregnant with the fourth, and I was at the time, of course, into the bone. My wife was gaining weight. I was losing weight, going through another one of those cycles. And I thought, all right, how can I exploit this pregnancy for attention on the internet? And I set up an NCAA style bracket for what is her pseudonym on the internet going to be. And there were a bunch of weird choices. Pancakes and waffle were paired off against each other. One of them was like an awkward silence, all the, Kilgore, the destroyer of nations. And they went through, bracket by bracket all the way to the end, and Waffle somehow won out. And it's a weirdly fitting name for her and her personality. She just kind of does what she wants. She's very much her own person. And she actually, now, she doesn't understand what a pseudonym is. She thinks that Waffle is her middle name. And that's how she introduces herself to people. At preschool, she goes around telling her that Waffle is part of her full name. So we are those parents. We're probably lucky we haven't had Child Protective Services called on us yet.
That's awesome. So let me ask you a question. Did I hear you correctly? This is your 5th book out or your 6th book?
This is book number 5. Book number 6 will be out next year. So I wrote 3 parenting guides, comedy parenting guides, and I had 1 book for kids. It was a guided journal to kind of help them find the humor in the situations around them. And then this one is my 4th book for adults and 5th book overall. Yes.
Awesome. Now, how long does it take you to write a book?
The time varies greatly. So typically I like to get 1 book out a year, but part of that year spent working on the next book and all of that. My process has gotten quite a bit faster here lately. I don't know if you guys ever use voice to text, but it's been a total game changer for me because it seems like the first draft is always the hardest. And if I can just narrate it out, as you can tell as I ramble here on this podcast, if I open my mouth, words will come out. And so I just kind of close my eyes and start talking, and I can bang out a chapter an hour in first draft, and then you go through second draft, it takes a lot longer. But I would say most of the heavy lifting on a book is done within probably 6 months, and it's a year to get the full final product.
So Brian, there you go. You just got to get that software and just speak into it and let. Oh, he's breaking. You got the book right there. Did you got the book? He's gonna help. Is it done?
Give me a little love for getting that thing written in 2 months, 116,000 words.
Actually, yes, Steve puts me to shame. Steve writes way faster than I do, and his has actual factual information.
No, wait a minute. 160. Dr. Steve, I'm giving you applause.
Yeah. Jim, this is why you are my favorite co-host on this show. Right there.
Well, I told you I was going to support you. And by the way, I did send you a middle of the night text message last week too, just like as I said I would too.
I think you actually did. Yes.
I did. Absolutely. Just so people know I kept my word on that in regards. Brian, how far along are you? Seriously, you got the book there. I mean, you almost complete.
I don't know.
He's about, just a third of the way through,
Yeah, look at all that.
I actually went backwards from last week. But,
I was working on it today, as a matter of fact.
All right.
Well,
great. Is that your editing process? He gets a physical copy and then puts Post-it notes in it?
Yeah.
That's impressive. That's very, very old school. Also, I hope you scribble little hate messages there at Steve. I don't know what's wrong with this, but I hate it. And by extension, I hate you. He loves that kind of feedback. Trust me. It'd make him work much better.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind.
Dr. Steve, I thought you said this guy actually liked you.
I don't know that I would say those words in that order, Jim. That doesn't sound like me. No.
The exact words was, I have a really, really good friend who I do plenty of podcasts. He's awesome. I have a great relationship with him. Unlike you and Brian, I got a guy I want to bring on to show you how you do this correctly.
And then we couldn't get him. And
yeah. When that happens.
Well, hey, James, we're glad you could fill in. You're doing an awesome job, by the way. And so definitely send us the links, and we'll definitely put those in the show notes so people can know how to reach out to you, grab you, order your books. And so how do they get your book right now?
You can search for How to Be a Man, whatever that means, at your online retailer of choice, Amazon, wherever else. Or you can go to my website, explodingunicorn.com. There's a link right off of there. The book comes out June 1st. If you pre-order through my website, there's a retailer called Main Street Books there. And if you do that, you can get a signed copy. And then that's the best way. I also have a newsletter that comes out every Sunday night. Steve reads it from time to time when it doesn't go into a spam folder, and you can sign up through there as well. And I send out about a 2,000 word story every week for my life. So you end up getting, a book. Comedy books tend to be shorter. They're 50, 60,000 words. So you end up getting the equivalent of like 2 free books a year just straight to your inbox. So I definitely recommend signing up to that newsletter, even if my motives are 100% selfish on that.
Well, at least you're honest. I'm going to sign up for it. So look, I mean, do you do tours of your house too, so people could get a chance to see the 2 pigs and see Waffle and your other 3 daughters and your wife and see how the rich live?
Not the opposite of the rich. Yes, I've got but nobody with 4 daughters is rich. I'll start with that. we have a YouTube channel. So my kids, people always ask me, are they impressed by all the stuff you do online? Kids don't care about Twitter. They don't care about Facebook. The only thing that's real to them is YouTube. And I have almost nobody who follows me on YouTube. And yet that's the only one that impresses my children. So I do pig videos and kid videos and all that. Waffles all over that one. The other day, my 6-year-old introduced me to our new neighbor as, she said, my dad's a YouTuber. And I was like, oh, that's got to be the low point of my life. That's so much else. And YouTube
is that below or above a radio DJ? Where does that fall on the scale?
I mean, in reality, like a mile below, but in kids' minds, a mile above. Like I saw a poll the other day. The #1 profession kids want to be is a YouTuber. And like, I've seen the videos these kids watch, and I am fearful for the future of the humanity. I really am.
Well, it's amazing to me that these kids will watch other people playing video games on a YouTube channel, and they're watching someone playing a game that they could play themselves, and they'll watch it for hours.
Yes. And that blows my mind. And what really blows my mind is, so when I was a kid, there were cartoons on Saturday morning and that was it. And now we've got 95 different streaming services. My kids have hundreds of thousands of hours of quality produced content, cartoons at their fingertips. They can watch on demand without limits, because I'm not going to stop them, because when they're watching screens, they're quiet. So I just leave them be. And instead of doing that, they choose to watch other kids playing video games or playing with toys they already own. Or the one that bothers me the most of all is when they watch other kids watching and reacting to YouTube videos. Like, you're literally watching somebody else watch a video and then say things about that video. Like, it's way too much Inception for me on that one.
Yeah, you can thank Bravo TV for that contribution to society.
Oh yeah, it's definitely not a step in the right direction. Now I sound like an old man shaking my fist at a cloud, but I'm sure when my kids are our age, they're going to be, their kids will be watching something on virtual reality, and they'll be like, this is garbage. What are they doing? They could go out there doing this stuff themselves. And it's every generation, it never ends.
No, I mean, you're going to have a whole generation of kids, and we're not even going to know if they even exist, because no one leaves their house anymore. So
yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
So, you're kind of describing James, though, Jim.
Oh, he doesn't leave the house either.
My house is a wonderful, wonderful place. Why would I ever leave? The best part isn't that when I don't leave the house. It's when everybody else but me leaves the house. That's when I'm really living my best life.
That is pee with the door open, kind of alone. Yeah,
I can relate to that.
Well, Steve, you had that the other night. In fact, you described it as pee with the door open alone, but I think yours
way to pee.
Yours only lasted for like an hour. It was very brief lived.
Yeah, but you'll get to be my age at some point, James, when you realize that you no longer get excited thinking, well, wait a minute, I'm setting this joke up wrong. I'll back into it later and hit you with the punchline. But yes, an hour of peeing with the door open probably implies prostate issues, but I think you get where I'm going with this. It's better than nothing.
The less said, the better.
It's a 12 flusher.
Thank you for leveling it down a notch, Jim.
Well, that's awesome.
I want to point out, this is the 3rd week in a row that our guest has talked about poop without any provocation from either of the three of us. It's
the weird thing is, though, when you tell people you eat all meat, that's one of the first things they bring up. I mean, the very first one is, aren't you going to die from a heart attack? And the second one is, how do you poop? And it's like, I could go into it. I don't know, maybe I'm doing the public a disservice that I don't go into more detail, but let me tell you, everything works perfectly fine and much better than before. And we can just leave it at that.
Yeah, Forrest Gump says it happens, and he became famous for that T-shirt he created. So.
There you go.
James also said that he gets excited looking forward to a big piece of meat waiting for him. And I was thinking, my wife actually gets depressed when she thinks there's a big piece of meat waiting for him. She sees me laying in the bed. So that was the disparity I wanted to point out, but wanted to make sure to hit that joke head on instead of trying to work it into a story.
It doesn't work, though. It implies the big piece of meat there. I don't see the connection in your case, but that's neither here nor there.
Well, the ego is as big as what he thinks he's carrying but he does have a poster that'll be marketed soon that he is carrying a 17-pound brisket. Very tastefully done.
It's tasteful, yeah.
And he's wearing a tie.
A brisket boudoir. pick.
Yes.
Yes.
What is this promoting? What I am curious now.
What was Lady Gaga promoting when she wore the meat dress? I'm going to wear the meat loin or the meat merkin.
Man.
Ooh, that's a good name for a band, Brian. Meat merkin.
Oh,
some people have a notebook by their bed where they write down their great ideas. I hope you just have like a trash can. You just take them and just throw them in there, never to be heard from again.
I'm telling you, it's next $1 million seller, meat merkin. Right.
There you go. Write it down.
Oh, now, are you guys big into smoking? That's the step I haven't taken yet, but I've seen some of your videos and it looks like you guys have the smoking thing mastered, or is that just Brian?
No, I smoke with my Traeger. We both have Traegers. My Traeger is not nearly as big as Brian, but he's got the Rockstar Ironwood 885. Did I get the nomenclature right, Brian?
You did.
There you go.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's only taken me 52 weeks to get to know that, but I finally learned it.
The Space Age Euro Master Mega 3000.
Yes. Big enough to smoke a horse on it, but yes. So I smoke and also have a griddle that I love too. So between the two of those are the two essentials, and I don't need anything else but the griddle and the Traeger smoker.
Yeah, those are my go-to main things.
Are you doing mostly briskets, or are you smoking everything?
I smoke it. I even smoke a steak. I'll smoke a steak
Really?
at internal temperature, and then I throw it on the griddle and sear it on the griddle. So I use that combination all the time in different ways.
Yeah, I feel like I'm not sophisticated enough. So when I eat my 3 pounds of meat, I feel like I shovel it in so fast I don't really taste it. So I don't know if the smoke will be a good use for me or not. And also I cover it in hot sauce and all that. I'm not as bad as Steve. I don't put ketchup on a steak, but I do put hot sauce and mayonnaise and mustard on a burger. So that's where I draw my line.
There are many cookbooks that outline the health benefit, mental and physical, of ketchup.
Now,
and they're all published by Heinz 57.
Now, have you taken the plunge and gone for the low sugar or no sugar added ketchup, or are you still adding the sugar packed kind?
My wife, for a while, because she only buys things with real sugar, like she doesn't want any of the fructose corn syrup stuff.
Yeah.
So I think we're still going through the Tubbo Chup that she bought, the massive. See, I started talking and Brian took off again. It happens.
Ooh,
Brian's
nice. Very
Look
nice.
at that. But you see, it says organic, unsweetened ketchup.
Let's not bury the lead, Jim. Brian, for all the hating that he has done,
the seal's not even broken. He hasn't even used it.
Yeah, I was looking. So I don't use ketchup, but my kids, put ketchup on everything. So as I try to transition them off to sugar or just to less sugar, I bought the sugar-free kind, and they can't tell the difference, at all. We think the sugar is essential, but it's really not. My biggest win was syrup. I switched them from regular syrup, which has like 25 grams of sugar per teaspoon, to this keto version that has like 24 grams of sugar, and my wife and my kids could not tell the difference at all. It's like, how many other things are like that in our lives? Or it's not like you have to be on a full ketogenic diet. You just make a small change, an imperceptible change in taste, and there's just huge benefits from it.
Yeah, I mean, pizza is one of those. You look at a pizza you buy at a grocery store that's a frozen pizza, and it's like 42 grams of carbs because of that crust. And of course, they put sugar in their sauce as well.
Mm-hmm.
When you can turn around and make everything but the crust, and you got 1 or 2 carbs at the most.
Yeah.
So it's crazy, those small changes. And that's why we tell people, there's a substitute for everything that you probably think that you're addicted to. But the one thing that's causing you to believe that is the sugar. And once you break free from that addiction to sugar, then the whole world starts to open up to you, and you're not such a slave to that white substance.
And even the sugar, I mean, you get into the sugar alcohols that don't spike your blood sugar level. I mean, there's a surprising number of substitutes that can get you really close. Now, and for a while when I was doing keto, that was my whole thing. I was just trying to imitate the foods I ate normally. And now that I've kind of transitioned, I actually eat differently. I eat all meat, and I think it's a lot better. But I mean, if you want to straddle that middle ground and just have keto versions of the stuff you eat normally, it is absolutely out there. I mean, Google search anything, it'll pop up. I searched keto French fries the other day. I thought for surely there's no such thing. You know, a potato is pure carbs, but sure enough, there are countless keto recipes for French fries, including one. And I tried it out. It was, I didn't even know what this was. A rutabaga? Like, I'd heard the word. I could not have drawn you a picture of what a rutabaga looked like, but I went to the store and sure enough, it existed. And I sliced it up and made fries for my kids, and they weren't thrilled with it, but they weren't repulsed either. They tasted about like sweet potato fries, but a sweet potato fry has about 1 trillion carbs in it, and a rutabaga fry has like 4. So you just, again, another weird substitution you can do for huge progress.
Absolutely. And you know, you got air fryers that cook stuff without having to use seed oil. So there's so many things that you can do that changes your outcome as opposed to your meal itself. So
yeah, I was gonna say the other day, like I normally don't get cravings for sweets anymore because I just stay away from them. But every once in a while it'll cross my mind, and I I thought, I bet I could make a cupcake that tastes exactly like a cupcake if I wanted to, because I had some heavy cream and some cream cheese in my refrigerator, so I made a chocolate cupcake with cream cheese icing, and I bet I could trick anybody to not know that didn't have any sugar in it.
That's awesome. Now, when I was in my keto stage for myself and my kids weren't doing it at all, I tried some of the baking. My baking was not a success, but I think the problem was I never baked regular foods either. I just never baked cakes of any kind. So when I tried to make my first cake, a keto cake, the results weren't great. So now I'm coming back at it with a little more experience, but cupcakes are advanced. I'm not gonna lie, that's tricky. I've ruined a few batch of cupcakes, so you have my respect on that.
Well, I know in the early days when I first started doing keto, and this was probably 4 or 5 years ago or so, a friend of mine, well, Maria, she was on the show. Oh, she was on the show. Was she on our
yeah,
show?
she was on the show. Yeah, she was on the show.
Oh, I can't remember now. Everyone that's been on here, but yeah, she was like the champion of red velvet cupcakes, like regular, and she used to bring them to our shows. Like after the show, she'd hand me this thing of cupcakes, and I would just wolf those things down. And then I cut out the sugar, and I told her I can't have those cupcakes anymore, even though they're the best I've ever had. So she tried to experiment and make keto cupcakes, but that was like early on, and they turned out kind of like flat and hard, and the icing was still good, but the cupcake was like, yeah, I don't know. I just rather not eat any. But now with like you have the pork panko, there's so many other ingredients. I used a combination pork panko and beef gelatin. And, I mean, the consistency was just like cake. I couldn't believe it.
Wow,
it was incredible.
Now, how many cupcakes did you get with your batter that you made up the other day, Brian?
Well, I was trying for one big one.
Okay.
I have these cupcake pans that have the big cupcake things, and it made a little more than I thought, so I ended up having 3 cupcakes.
Wow, the colossal keto cupcake.
Somebody lives kind of close to you.
I'll let you sample it sometime.
If you feed him, he'll never go away. I'm warning you.
So James, do you have cows on your property? You're eating 3 pounds of meat a day. That's 21 pounds a week. So, I mean, where are you? Who's your meat supplier?
So I think I've bought a half a cow twice or 3 times, where I just fill up my deep freezer in the basement. And that's not my favorite way to go. If I was a perfect person, I would buy grass-fed beef because it's better for the earth and sustainable farming and all of that. But I'm really good at shopping for deals. Steve will attest to my insane cheapness. And if you shop correctly, you can get ground beef on sale for not much more than $2 a pound. The last time they did that here, just at the local grocery store, I got over 400 pounds of meat just in 3-pound rolls, and it's now completely filling my freezer in the basement. It just makes me happy every time I think about it. There's so much beef down there.
Big piece of meat waiting for you.
Actually, I mean, it's actually tons and tons of tiny crumbly pieces of meat, but that's okay. You know, it's the size doesn't matter. It's the overall accumulation.
I don't relate to that part. No.
You know, the great thing is I do the same thing you do. I look for deals, and we'll be having a deal, meal deals coming up here shortly, later on.
Hi, honey. Margaret here on the Keto Rocks podcast. And I says to Barbara down the hall, I says, I'm going on the Keto Rocks podcast. And she says, oh, you mean the one with that delightful Brian Damage from the band Kix? And I says, yeah, I guess so. And she went, I could juice that kid like a mango. I don't even know what that means, to be honest with you, but I'm here because I'm on a new health kick. I got myself on a 2-pack a day habit. No, not the heaters. I'm up to 3 packs a day of these things, but 2 packs a day of these healthy mini muffins, because listen, says mini right on it. That means lower calories. That means it's really good for you, right? Much better. Anyway, but also they got blueberries in them. And what could be better for you than fresh fruit? Mini blueberry muffins. I gotta be on this health kick. People around me been starting to say things like, Margaret, you smoke too much. They got me this thing called a vape. I can't live with this kind of negativity in my life. I gotta be honest with you. How do you like this thing? Anyway, but listen, Brian Schenker's coming up here. He's going to talk about meat deals of the week. And you know me, I'm Margaret. I'm on a fixed income. I got to buy my smokes. I got to buy my mini muffins. I don't know if I can afford all of this kinds of meat. But Brian's going to tell you how you can do it on a budget. So stay tuned. And thanks for tuning in to Keto Rocks.
But you know, when the freezer's full, it feels kind of good because I know I got food for me. But then I'm like Brian. So when you get to the store, I love going to the meat counter and say, "Oh my God, that prime rib looks so good," or that ribeye looks so good, and I cannot pass up. I did pass up the ribeye the other day, or the prime rib the other day, but I went back to get it and it wasn't there. So, but I go, where am I going to put this? Like, I have no more room in the freezer to add any more piece of meat. Yet I still buy it, and I go, oh, I just got to cook it tonight. That's it. And the next day or two.
Yeah, you walk by and see that big tomahawk steak, like 3 inches thick, and it's like, oh, I gotta have it. I know that feeling.
Yeah, exactly.
I've actually considered whether or not I could fit a second deep freeze somewhere in my house. I might have a problem.
I have 2 freezers in my garage, 2 freezers in my garage, and they are full.
You're living my dream. There you go. You're still a normal functioning person. Maybe I should just give in and do it. You're an example of what I should be.
One of those freezers is full of Hostess Twinkies, though. I'm fairly convinced. Just in case.
Just in case. Yeah, no. Yeah. No, there's not. You won't even find out. Yeah. You know, talking about that, we got a bunch of people who sent in some well wishes for our anniversary show that we're going to air here shortly. And one of the memories was the show that we did early on, Brian, where I was buying a half a cow, and you remember the guy who delivered the meat, and I had the world's smallest steak. Yeah. It was about this big, and I literally I went to the freezer because no one would believe that I'm telling the truth. I wasn't even exaggerating. They had vacuum sealed this steak, which was the size of, I kid you not, it was this, or where's my camera at? It was the size of that little thing right there in a vacuum bag that said 0.3 ounces for a New York strip steak. Now, I don't know what you're supposed to do with 0.3 ounces. But it was ridiculous. I brought those. I showed those on the air. So if you can go back and watch one of the earlier episodes of Keto Rocks, you will see that 0.3 ounces of New York strip.
Feed that to a field mouse.
When you get your go ahead.
I was going to say that they were wrapping individual bites.
Yes.
Now, when you got your half a cow, did you get the organs too, like the tongue and the heart and all of that, or did you tell them to just keep it?
I told them actually to grind that stuff up in the beef.
Ooh,
So I had
nice.
them ground up in the beef. But in the future reference, I'll just tell them to ship the tongue to Brian's house because Brian's got a freezer collection full of them.
Yes.
Really?
Yes. Some are human, but yes. Yes.
Now, what do you smoke them or what do you do with them?
Brian, go ahead. Tell us everybody what we're doing with them.
I freeze them. I haven't actually dealt with the tongue yet. I only have one, but I have been putting it off because I've never done it before, and I'm just like hesitant. But
I made a tongue for my first batch. I cooked the tongue and I cooked the heart and I cooked the oxtail, and the tongue was just like regular beef, but not as good. The heart I made into heart jerky and it was okay. Maybe I didn't spice it right. It was really chewy. It was a lot of work to cut around all the blood vessels and stuff.
We just lost Dr. Steve.
And then the oxtail was the worst one of all. That I don't know if you've ever done the oxtail. It's like 90% bone with like tiny bits of meat in there. So I cooked this huge thing of oxtail. There's like 10 ounces of meat. It was so much work. I ended up going and cooking myself just some burgers to get around it. So I definitely just leave those out. But I think your approach of getting it ground into the ground beef is probably smarter because then you get the nutrition and you don't have to worry about cooking it separately with all the weird texture and preparation.
wow, oxtail. How'd you cook? Did you slow cook it?
Yeah, that's exactly what I slow cooked it and I put all these spices on it and the spices just caked onto the bone. And it was a disaster. I was the only one eating it. Luckily, the only one whose dinner I ruined was mine, but I would not do oxtail again.
Wow, I love oxtail.
Oh, do you?
That's one of my favorites. But what I do is once I eat the meat, I just leave the bones in there and just add more bones and make a big thing of bone broth.
Bone broth. There it is.
Oh.
All right.
Now, do you
I knew I'd get a reaction out of you.
do you save your bone broth or like do you have to use it right away?
Oh no.
I freeze it.
Okay.
So,
I guess
Like Hannibal Lecter.
Wait a
Yeah.
minute. You freeze your bone broth, Brian?
yeah, I make a big batch and I'll freeze most of it and I'll just bring a jar out every few days or so.
Well, no, I mean, we seal ours in the pickle jars and just vacuum seal them and just leave them out. I don't put them in the freezer. I just, and the reason why that's the method in which I use, because I used to put the bone broth in a bag. Now it's hot. You put it in the freezer, the bag drips between the bars and then it freezes. And now you can't get the bag of bone broth out.
Well, I just put the jars in the freezer.
Sure. How else do you use it as a dessert topping? Yeah.
I clearly messed up on that one. The other day I bought bone broth at the store like some kind of chump. It's like I had these other bones I threw away, but now that I'm doing all ground beef, I don't get the bones anymore. But it's so disappointing. Whether it's bone broth or even the bacon, anything else, you go there like, all right, but beef bone broth, the simplest of all things. You look at the back ingredients and like they throw in carrots, they throw in celery, they throw in sugar. Like they try to throw sugar in everything. It's like it just doesn't need to be in there. This is a savory food. Nobody even tastes the sugar, so you get all the health downsides and none of the taste benefits. And it's a lot. I guess it just comes down to you got to make the food yourself because there's just garbage in it if the store does it.
Yep, that's what I have found.
Yeah, that's a game that you can play with your friends. Go to a grocery store and see who's the first person who grabbed 10 products that are packaged that doesn't have sugar or canned that does not have sugar in the ingredients. And you will be hard pressed to find a product that's been canned or bagged that does not have sugar. And
the worst is sometimes they'll be like sugar free, and you'll look on the back and it has like maltodextrin or dextrose or like something else that's exactly as bad as sugar, but isn't exactly sugar. It's like, yeah, nice try. Okay.
Yeah, they're legally allowed to sit there and call sugar 50 different things now. So you go, there's not sugar on here, but there's the dextrose and all the other different names that goes by.
Yep, exactly.
Well, hey, we're going to change it up a little bit. So, Dr. Steve, I just want to say it's been great to have you as an addition to the family. And, I'm going to cry. I don't know why we ever brought up milk on the show, but no, but it's been a welcome addition to the show. But I just want to sit there and get Brian's take on some of his favorite moments over the last year. Like what moment sticks out to you? What guest maybe stuck out to you over the last year that comes to mind?
You're asking me?
Yes.
Well,
you're the only one that's been here with me for a year.
I know. There's been a lot of them, but and I should have wrote down the names.
We can make it up. I'll edit them out.
But yeah, we've had some. Well, the ones with the success stories, they're always great. Some amazing success stories, and then there was the one that you had on. What was her name?
Mary Ruddick or Cynthia Thurlow? Mary. Yeah, Mary. Yeah.
Yeah, she was great. Really good information.
You know Mary Ruddick, James, by chance?
I am not familiar with that one. I'll have to go back and catch that episode.
Yeah, you'll have to watch that episode. She's amazing. She lives over in, I think she's in Greece now. I think she lives in Greece, but she's a doctor or some title to her name, but she's working with another gentleman. She travels the world because the beliefs of how other people eat, like in Greece and other parts of the world, that they just eat crap. And we're the only ones trying to eat the keto carnivore lifestyle. And what she found out was not true. Like these tribes and these people who live a long time pretty much live a carnivore or keto lifestyle. And so she was shocked in Greece, like what they really do eat, as opposed to the Mediterranean diet that makes you want to believe that's what they eat. So it was an eye-opening show that we had her on, and she shared a lot of stuff with us. And so it was quite revealing.
Huh. Yeah, that's the big thing now. A lot of the doctors, the carnivore doctors I follow on Instagram, they've gone to Africa here recently for the Maasai tribe, and they eat all meat and milk and cow's blood and everything else like that. And their lifespans are incredible. They don't have many health problems. It's like, well, there was just that Israeli study that came out the other day that said humans were probably meat-only apex predators for 2 million years.
Yeah.
And then here we are, all of a sudden we think, no, we're supposed to eat grain. If you eat all meat, it's unhealthy. And it's like, how do we get things so backwards? It's really crazy how we got ourselves in this situation.
Yeah, it's like Brian said, the first time he had a piece of meat, because Brian, how many years did you go without eating a piece of meat?
Oh, wow. Probably 20.
Wow.
And like when he first, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but when he first put that meat in his mouth, it's like his body said, yes, this is what we've been missing. Like it just rejoiced.
Yeah. It was like, those first 2 weeks after when I started eating meat, it just was like, boom, I felt like so much better. I couldn't believe what I had been missing. And it was because I thought it was bad for me. I didn't, I was believing all the hype.
Mm-hmm. That's the crazy thing, that we make these decisions to get away from meat. And it's not like we're making informed decisions. This is things that doctors and dietitians and they're the American Standard Diet recommendations, they're out there telling you to do these things. And when you follow the rules, you're just making yourself more unhealthy. It's really, they've kind of set up a trap for people. It's pretty unfortunate.
Yeah, it is.
Now, Dr. Steve, what's been one of your favorite moments? I know you've only been with us since January, February. It seems like a year, but what's one of your favorite moments?
Tell you what, the James Breakwell episode, I'm going to strike from my memory right away. I don't know that I've been on enough to even have a favorite. I think I've only been on 5 episodes. And one of them, we didn't even have a guest. It was just the 3 of us talking.
Well, I've enjoyed your guest last week. Pete Lynch. He
way better than Breakwell. Yeah, absolutely. The bar is low, but Pete cleared it by quite a bit.
You're laughing, James, but trust me, you showed up on time or you showed up and knew how to use Zoom. And Pete, God bless him.
Pete will be so delighted to hear you say that, Jim.
I know. Hey, Pete, I'm giving you love, brother, but it was all good. It was all good. For me, I tell you what, the coolest thing about this year, I don't think I have one favorite moment, but I will say that when we started down this Keto Carnivore show, I did not know that we would really grow a family of people who wanted to truly go live this lifestyle. And it's amazing because people are looking for support outside of their home, because just like you, James, you got a family, you got kids, you got a spouse, and they necessarily want to go down this crazy keto carnivore lifestyle.
Yeah.
But it's amazing how we got people like Emily who decides to go down that lifestyle, and how she's truly, she's changing, and you see that this lifestyle truly works. And to see the number of people who are making the transformation, the emails that we get from people showing us the before and after pictures, it's just truly been amazing. But what's even more amazing than that is the relationships has been built in the last 12 months of people supporting one another on social media. And really, we've done fast together. We share recipes together. And, we're getting together in August for a Keto Rocks retreat. And it's going to be a lot of fun, because it's just so cool that you're like going through life with 100 of your best friends, and you're all on the same page. You're going through this lifestyle together. So when you get hit upside the head from a doctor who tells you, oh, you got to get off of that, you got to, trim the fat, eat skinless chicken, and they give you that American standard diet pitch, you got other people to turn to and go, like Brian said, all right, I'm firing my doctor. She's gone. And luckily for me, my doctor is actually a keto doctor. So she's like, hey, you're still doing keto? Keep it up. So that's rare. And she's a UVA physician. So it's nice to know that we have people out there like Dr. Ken Berry who are promoting the keto carnivore lifestyle. Well, let's go ahead, and before we end the show, let's go ahead and roll all the well wishes that we received over the last week or two from our friends, family, and viewers. And also a special shout out to Cheryl from Houston, who took the time to record a little bit of a song snippet in honor of the show. So thanks for all who sent in your videos and your well wishes. We truly appreciate it. It's heartfelt. Thank you very much, and we look forward to serving you guys for another year.
Well, hello, everyone. I'm Jeffrey Darty, the Christian whistleblower, host of Late Night in the Heartland, and I wanted to take this opportunity, in fact, it's a privilege and an honor, to wish Brian and Jim a very, very happy anniversary on year one of Keto Rocks Radio. It's so good to know that you guys are out there spreading the message of keto, helping people change their lives. And since I first heard your message, I've been able to lose over 50 pounds and transform my life. So congratulations, guys. I salute you for being out there teaching truth. And I look forward to many, many more years of Keto Rocks with both you guys. We really appreciate you. Thanks for all the great work.
Here we go. There's something happening here. What it is ain't exactly clear. There's a girl with two big pants over here telling you you should go low carb. I think it's time we start. Hey, what's that sound? It's the sound of bacon cooking now. Stop, hey, what's that sound? It's a Checker Grill grilling now. Happy 1 year anniversary, Keto Rocks Radio. Everybody loves you. That's it.
Hey guys, Linda Hazer here. Wanted to take a moment and congratulate you on hitting your 1 year mark. That's awesome. Hope you guys will continue to do this for years to come. I also wanted to share with you what keto and now carnivore has meant to me. As you know, since I've been following you from the beginning, I have lost a significant amount of weight doing keto and the carnivore lifestyle, and that is very important. But what's come to be the most important benefit of this to me is just the overall health benefits, learning about the truth about nutrition, and just being able to be more active and engaged with my family. I'm really looking forward to the future, watching my kids graduate and move on to adulthood, I'm looking forward to being an empty nester in the next year or so, and looking forward to some adventures that maybe my husband and I will be able to go on in the future. So that's having that positive outlook and knowing that I'm going to be around to do that is really fantastic. I also want to tell you how wonderful the Keto Rocks Carnivore community has been. You guys have really created an environment for those of us who follow you to get to know each other and to really support one another. And a lot of us have become what I consider friends, which is a lot different than some of the other communities you might get involved in. And we really do reach out to each other and connect with each other. Some of us get together, and that's wonderful. You guys are creating something here that is different and really valuable to a lot of us. So I thank you for that. As far as my favorite Keto Rocks moment, I have two. It's from the same episode. It was the first episode that I was on. So my very first favorite moment is getting to meet you, Jim, and you, Brian, virtually, and getting to talk with you guys. That was a real honor for me. And hopefully, Steve, at some point I'll get to meet you virtually as well. And my favorite funny moment was from that video because we were talking about getting cows and quarter of cows and half of cows and finding freezers, because at the time it was so very difficult to find the big freezers. And Jim gets up and leaves and then comes back with these teeny tiny, like, miniature steaks. I can't remember, Jim, if they were New York strip or ribeye, but they were the tiniest, like, mini steaks I've ever seen in my life. So that was really funny. I often think of that and laugh. So that's my favorite, to date, my favorite Keto Rocks moment. And I hope there'll be many more. I will constantly be tuning in. So I hope you guys keep doing what you're doing. And I hope and look forward to seeing you guys soon. Take care.
Hi guys, congratulations on your first year anniversary. Next month will be a year that I started my ketovore journey. I feel great and I never look back. I love the positive vibes you're putting out on your channel. Everyone that comes on is supported and encouraged and never judged. And I look forward to seeing you in August.
Dr. Steve, you've been very, very quiet. Did Brian get your tongue?
No. I'm just thinking this is the first 8-hour podcast that we've put together for Keto Rocks. So
anyway, well, James, it's been a pleasure and an honor to have you on.
Ignore that bottom left corner there. That can you just put a big black bar over that box for the broadcast?
We'll play like Hollywood Squares. We'll put an X over there. Jay's probably not even old enough to know what Hollywood Squares is. But we'll put an X over there. But no, seriously, thanks for coming on. Thanks for sharing a little bit about your life. And for people out there who are hearing James for the first time, go check out his channels. Get his new book, How to Be a Man. Dr. Steve, that's a good book to get. And
I've pre-ordered it.
Oh, there you go.
Sale at least. Yes.
And for other people who are just maybe tuning in for the first time, Brian, you want to share your bit of advice for everybody?
Yeah, eat your meat.
And it's just that simple, everybody. We'll walk out of here with our videos. James, God bless you for being twice a week or twice a month, however long it is. It's 2 times too many.
You said it.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next Friday. Thanks for all the well wishes. Stay safe, stay well, and stay out of the hospital. We'll see you next Friday, everybody.
Rockstar hours.
No, rockstar hours. That's 9:00 a.m. bedtime.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah.
Hey, Brian.
There's our special guest. Hey, James. Nice to meet you.
I am here. Nice to meet you all as well. I'm down to the second here, but I made it exactly on time, just as I always am for our podcast, right, Steve?
Perfect.
Yes, you are. So that's Brian Forsythe in the flannel shirt and Jim Hobbs in the hat. You can guess which of them is the rock star.
Both?
No, it's just that wherever he's at. He's down there somewhere. Somewhere's down there is the rock star.
The one that looks like he just woke up.
Yeah, at the crack of 7.
And this podcast is with video?
Yes.
It is with video.
Okay. I will make sure to not pick my nose then. I will resist the urge.
Go ahead. Steve does it all the time. He likes company.
It's going to be hard for you, but
my whole goal is just to horribly embarrass him. I assume he somewhat vouched for me in some fashion, so I have to now destroy his credibility. I think you all regret having me on here.
No, he said you were a multi-millionaire and that you love coming on shows and giving everybody $1 million to be on a show. So I said, well, hey, we'll bring him on. Brian said, yeah, let's do it.
I think he has our roles reversed here. Have you all been to the Steve Olivas Manor over there?
Please.
20,000 square feet, armed guards, the whole works.
And yet he still sneaks in and sleeps in Brian's basement.
He's a weird guy. That's all I can say.
It used to be in Brian's bushes, but he was nice enough to open the back door for me one day. I mean, he doesn't know that. It required the window to break, but yeah.
Steve and stray cats. That's how you get them stuck there forever.
All right, I'm taking my position, Hobbs.
All right, we'll go ahead and hit the record button and get started. Actually, I think I've already hit the record button. So,
ooh.
All right. So real quick, hey, Brian or James, so Steve was telling us about your website or what is it called? Exploding Unicorn?
Yeah, Exploding Unicorn.
Now, did you invent the game Exploding Unicorn?
I did not. I guess there's a game out there with a similar name, but it's not Exploding Unicorn because I trademarked Exploding Unicorn. So it's something close to, but not exactly that.
Okay, because we play games every week with my family. We all live on a compound, and they had bought that game Exploding Unicorns. It was something I was like, oh, I think we have the guy that's coming on. So
yeah,
that's such a unique name.
I think I think that game's a big seller. I wish I had invented it.
Yeah,
but I did not.
Oh, I was hoping you get some royalties for you, but all right. Well, we'll get started. Brian, you all ready?
Sure.
All right, let's do this. Steve, introduce our guest that's going to have that segment. Dr. Steve, what's going on with you this weekend?
Why? Brian gave you the eat your meat.
I know. I love that part. It's great.
Well, let me run down the schedule for the weekend, Jim. I hope everyone's got a steno pad and a folding chair because it's going to take a while. Got a big weekend planned here in the Olivas house, or we could just walk out of here.
All right, we'll walk out of here. All right, but the problem for me,
Steve, Jim.
Excuse me.
It's not Steve.
Yes, it's not you.
Right.
Sorry. Right. Yes, I'll edit that part out. Well, then it's that time to say goodbye then.